to create a space where we no longer have to put up the shield of code switching, the shield of trying to pretend so that you fake it till you make it, the shield of trying to be the spokesperson for everyone else. Creating a space where we can just show up and be vulnerable and talk about the things that matter and do it in a way where men are still thought of as men because they're actually being open and honest with one another, supporting one another, and we're doing it in an environment that's loving and is communal, and we're giving people a taste of the male psyche, really, and rehumanizing the black man in the process.
What y'all know about this song? You heard this one before? So a little bit. Gotta let the beat drop in one time. Alright, we can go live. We can go to audio. What's set? How y'all doing out there in online streaming land? Welcome to Me For You. Thank you for joining us. Today I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I don't know if you saw the last few episodes, but we started off a little bit hot and heavy, and I wanted to bring out a little bit more of a lighter vibe today because we need it. Plus, it is hot as shit in here. It's California, and Oakland usually doesn't get this hot, but it is warm today. So we're appreciating the sunshine, so I wanted to bring you in with that Simply Red sunshine. For those of you who don't know, this is To Me For You, stories of self-exploration from the heart. The show that invites men of color to share their vulnerable truths on stage in an effort to promote community healing. We have a number of dynamic brothers coming up to share their stories with you today. I typically share my own short story, and today's theme is around chicken soup. Every month we pick a different theme, whatever resonates, rhyme, reason, or other. It has some meaning to people out there, hopefully. And I'm over here cooking in the kitchen, as y'all can see. So I'm going to jump right in with it. And it wasn't too long ago I was actually in the kitchen with a mentor of mine, Baba G. He's here in the room with me. And I found myself in the kitchen with him, listening to his sage wisdoms. And he was telling me a story about authenticity and finding your own truth and the power within and self, and talking about all of the matters, the things that matter and the nature of things. As we're in this kitchen, and I'm like, hey, I got these neck bones in this fridge. We got to do something with them. What you trying to do? Let's make this chicken soup. And so I want to pause there for a second because as I think about it, chicken soup has been something that has had a bit of a larger meaning for me. And in several different instances, I'll give you an example. First of all, I'm half Colombian, I'm half Jamaican. And for those of you who don't know, we cook a dish called rondong. and it's a soup. It's based in coconut milk, real thick, real hearty. But you can have different types of rendang. Rendang ishili, rendang kongs, but it's all cooked in this slow stew type manner. Delicious. Meat's falling off the bone. But I also think about the origins of that meal. And we'll go back to that. Because I found myself in another kitchen in Argentina with some friends of mine. I was studying abroad. And it was myself, I'm a 6'1" black man. And another person who was a 6'1" Asian man. And then another person who was a 6'8" white man. And Italian. And we were studying abroad in Argentina, and he wanted to make his family's chicken soup for us. And in Argentina, we scraped all the materials that we could together, did our best. And I watched this man put the ingredients and put his family's touch into his chicken soup. And I realized a few things. One, that I probably wouldn't have made the chicken soup that way. But also that the chicken soup that I know comes from different origins. But nonetheless, all three of us were gathered around that stove, contributing to the ingredients to that chicken soup. And I think back about his origins and where his chicken soup came from, and how those ingredients might have been different than mine, but the outcome, taste might have been different, but the sentiments were the same. We gathered around that chicken soup, and as we put into the pot, we contributed the nourishment, the nutrients that we needed to heal as a collective as we ate that chicken soup. And then I think back to myself in this kitchen with Baba G. And he told me to taste the soup. And we're talking, and I said, could use a little bit of salt, but it's good. And he looked at me and he laughed. And he said, you can put salt in it at the end if you want. And we're talking. And then the soup, it's a peanut soup. A soup that I had never actually made before. So he's schooling me and learning me at the same time. And at the end of it, he tells me to taste the soup. And I looked at him and I was like, there's nothing missing. The soup is perfect. And he started laughing. And I've had some time to think about that. All of those different instances around which I found myself contributing to a soup. And how that soup has fed my soul in many different ways. And if it weren't for being present enough to find the nourishment in that soup, in that the ingredients, the contribution, the brotherhood, I might have just focused on putting more salt in it instead of letting it marinate into what it truly was. Chicken soup. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And I want to now take this time to introduce a brother of mine, Anthony Holloway. He actually had a great story. As I built this program, maybe a year ago, I ran into him at an African festival, and I asked him, I said, brother, what you doing this Thursday? I got something going on. He was like, nothing. I told him about it. He was like, that sounds dope. I'm there. And he showed up. And ever since then, he's been a brother to me. So I appreciate him. Anthony Holloway, he's a talent mogul. He's in acquisition. He does online courses, and he started his own organization. Please give an online round of applause for Anthony Holloway.
Yeah, straight out the fucking dungeons of rap, where fake niggas don't make it back. I don't know how to start this shit. Rappers are off, you flipping with the fucking rhythm I be kicking. Musician, and flipping composition. I'm pain, I'm like Scarface, sniffing cocaine. Holding the M16, see what the pair of extreme. Now, bullet holes, lifting my peep holes. I'm shooting out the
mic's a
street
little low,
clothes.
so.
Hammy and ironing out the feet foes. Y'all know my stilo, but low without the airplay. I keep some E and J, sitting bent up in the stairway. I either on the corner, betting grants with the CeeLo champs. Laughing at bass heads, trying to sell some broken amps. G-packs get off quick forever, niggas talk shit. Reminiscing about the last time the task force flipped. Niggas be running through the block shooting. Time to start the revolution, catch a body and produce the
Vibe in here, bro. I love the vibe, yo. Thank you for creating this energy.
like the cheetah with thoughts of an assassin. Pick the Mac up, your brothers back up. The Mac spit.
Sheesh. Wow. Thank you for having me, Denzel. Anthony Holloway is my name, and I've come to share my soul, share my heart, share some love with the world because we know we need it. But Denzel, thank you. We have kind of this, staging area in the back, and I'm kind of watching you on the screen, and then the next thing I know, I'm up here, and I was so into your metaphor about the suit that I was just so present in the moment. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm happy to be here today because I met Denzel the summer of last year, and one of the goals I set last year was to have more adventures with friends. And I picked that word specifically because a lot of times when we look back on the stuff that filled up our cup, that lifted our soul, it's like a memory, even if it's a misadventure, right? Even if you and your friend booked that trip and then you went and your Airbnb canceled. All the things that I look back on in my past that made me feel something have been adventures. So the reason that I even met Denzel was because I made a conscious effort to be like, I want more adventure in my life. Ended up going to this festival. I meet him. And yeah, stars aligned. Just right person, right place, right time. He shared this event with me. And I was like, yo, bro, I'm going to show up. I think I see a light in you. And I want to support that. And now we're here today. But before I even came in front of this camera, two of my friends spoke. So when you asked me to speak on the platform, it was interesting because I guess if you watch this, the one thing I want you to remember is the universe whispers to you. Now let that marinate. Now you can call it God, Allah, energy, karma, you can call it whatever you want, but there is a higher power that whispers to us. And the last time I saw you was in downtown Oakland, and I was like, yo, we have to do something together. This isn't coincidence. Right. So yeah, for anyone watching, just know, even if you're watching this right now, if someone shared it with you and you never heard of this, this is the universe whispering to you, telling you that you're on the right track. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Again, me and you met Denzel, and I wanted to join this because what you talked about was this is about self-exploration. So I think it's a lot of growth for myself and anyone who steps in front of this, because one, the biggest fear next to death is public speaking. So the fact that I'm even talking to you right now, I'm like, yo, you're doing something courageous. And then secondly is that Denzel has this light where he is creating a space for people to be vulnerable and to be open. And I think presence is what we need more of. And none of what I'm saying is written. I want to honor. I love practitioners. I have a bracelet on my arm, and the significance of it and why I want to share this is because the bracelet on my arm says Mamba. And the reason it says that is because I attended a conference in February where I got to spend time with my mom, see my family, see my friends. And it was like right before the whole world was quarantined. And at this conference, it was about personal transformation and self-help and all that good stuff. But they had you, before you attended the conference, you could order one of these. And you could put a word on it. And they said, what's your word? It could be love. It could be passion. It could be anything. I was like, what's the word that speaks to me? And Mamba came to me. Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality. And I share that because I love practitioners. I love people who are like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but I have a North Star. And when you put out that energy, you actually attract the right people in your life. So if for anyone watching, like, I mean, I haven't told you too much about who I am, but all I want you to do is feel my energy. I've journaled a lot, I've meditated a lot, and a lot of people have just told me my energy, what I share, that's magnetic. So, I mean, we can talk later on the couch about my story, who I am, what I do for a living, but I think what's more important is the energy you're taking away from me. Like, I want you to feel seen. I want you to feel loved. And I think that, like, that's what brought me to this moment. Denzel's energy, Harvey's energy, everyone behind these cameras. And I'm just so happy that Denzel has created this space, because what he doesn't know is that his nucleus of energy has created everyone that's in this room, has created all of these opportunities, have created, you know, there's half a dozen people behind this camera that you don't see that is making this energy beautiful. So thank you for all of that. And I know I'm coming up on my time and maybe want to leave some questions, but yeah, I'm happy I did this. I didn't prepare any of this. I wanted to do it because I like to, you know, document and prepare speeches and do all of this, but this was a big step out of my comfort zone. And the one thing that you take away from me in terms of the energy is everything is up to you. And what I mean by that is, Jay Shetty has a good quote, and me and Harvey were talking about this, but it's, you can't take the world further than you traveled internally. Right? You can't, yes, we want to change the world. Maybe you want to create a startup, or you want to stop police brutality. You got to get right within. And that's a never-ending evolution, right? I'm not very religious, but I am very spiritual. And whether you read religious texts or business books on spirituality, what they tell you is that everything is within your control. And the more you can center yourself, the more you can be a light for others. And I think this event is a testament to that. So thank you for letting me share that. And I'm open to questions with the last few minutes we have.
Awesome. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for playing my song. Man.
Got you, bro.
The energy, that gave me it.
Got you. This stage is for you, man. This stage is for you. So do we... Harvey, you're going to manage questions from the audience online. We do have questions in the audience here, so we're going to take the first question from Baba G. Go ahead.
Sink your teeth into, you tell them to marinate on your thinking, which was the universe whispers to you. I wrote a poem like that, but I want you to dwell on that a little bit more.
What I mean by that is, if we're too caught up, perfect example, we're too caught up in our phone, if we're too caught up in the end result, i.e. Denzel with the chicken soup, we miss the in-between moments, which is where the gems are, which is where we grow, which is where you fall in love, which is where you find out something about yourself you didn't know, right? So how do you cultivate presence? There's a ton of different ways to do that, but I think the universe whispering to you is, make sure that you make it a responsibility and a priority to, like, don't forget, like, these in-between moments, everything that, you know, you might have goals, but the in-between, the universe, there are things that are speaking to you and you actually, so I'll give you another example and then I'll go to another question. But like, for one of the things that I want a house, and I want a basketball court, a pool, and a sauna. Specifically those three things for three different reasons. And I was sitting in my house today, in my studio apartment with no central air, and I was like,
Speak on it. It's hot.
this is kind of like a sauna. Maybe you have your blessing right here. Like, that's a perfect example of by what I mean. But I was sitting there meditating, and I was like, damn, it's hot. I was like, yo, but you said you wanted a sauna, so what you really want? And can you just be grateful and just, it's a role play. But if you don't have that presence, then you can't even open yourself up for the opportunity to have the wisdom, to have the jinn. So thank you for following up with that.
All right, I think we got one more question.
Yeah, we got a question from our Crowdcast audience. Jennifer wants to know, what's the greatest blessing in your time of adventure, and does it still play a role now?
What is my greatest blessing? Great question. Hard to choose.
So many.
So my greatest blessing, one of the most recent ones from an adventure, this was November last year. Went to go see Erykah Badu, Mos Def, and Busta Rhymes at the Greek Theater. And yeah, I mean, do I need to say more?
No, that's a blessing right
like
there.
that lifted my soul.
We got
that was just a few hours
on the
that
playlist.
I still got videos and I watch them every now and then. And yeah, that's probably one of the busy. Again, I wrote that down recently while I was journaling, so that's fresh in my mind. But yeah, if you when it opens back up, the Greek Theater in Berkeley with Erykah Badu singing and on the MPC there's nothing like it.
Okay, so I have a question. Is that fair? Can I ask a question? All right, appreciate y'all. You talked about a few things. You talked about light. You talked about energy. You talked about seeing light in somebody else. You talked about feeling energy. Can you talk about how you get to a place where you can even start saying those words? Because there probably is a subset of our audience who's still in a very self-discovery place to even before they can get to that point. So how did you enlighten yourself, or where did you come to a point of enlightenment?
Well, I would.
Because not everybody
There's a
journals.
lot to unpack, but one, like, enlightenment isn't a place that you arrive, right?
Correct.
There's evolution, and you commit to evolution. Secondly, I would say start with self-love, and which I think is a little bit different than self-care. So there's a great book, Love Your Life, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depended on It. And one of the activities in the book, which is, it feels very uncomfortable, but once you do it after a while, it becomes a practice like brushing your teeth. But you look in the mirror, you choose one eye, just choose one eye, left or right eye, and you look in your eyes for 1 minute, and you say, I love you. Denzel, I love you. And yes, it's nice to get pedicures and spa days and treat yourself and buy things for yourself, but you'll be surprised how uncomfortable it is to just look in your face for 60 seconds and say, I love you. Like, it's very uncomfortable. So if you can get comfortable with doing that, like, that's how you can tangibly start the journey tomorrow.
For sure.
And then you got to find, again, I think there's a difference between spirituality and stillness. I think everybody needs a practice to find spirituality and find stillness in their life. So for some people, it's runner's high, right? I lose track of time. For others, it's I got to get on a beat. I got to rap. For others, it's painting and creating sets and editing videos, right? So find what that is for you, what your stillness is in terms of your practice, but then also love yourself and start to find a spirit. Like, I don't want to just be like meditate. Like, no, find what works for you. Meditation doesn't work for everybody. You got to find another way to get in touch with your soul. So.
Sure. All right. Well, Anthony, I think you've graced us with some knowledge, some vulnerability, some wise words. So I appreciate you. And for everybody out there, this is not the end. We are going to have a couch session where we can get deeper into Anthony's psyche. So I will give us a moment for a brief intermission as we transition over. But I'm going to take you out with a couple of announcements. One, this show is not free, so this healing work that we do, we lead with it through authenticity and vulnerability, and we give it away for free. So to the extent that you can and you support this, please donate. You can click the donate button right on the screen. And otherwise, I also want to shout out to some of the local partners out here that have been uplifting our work. Gold Beams. Yes, Gold Beams is on point. Visit Oakland, Black Men Heal, all of those folks who are out there supporting the work that we're doing. So thank you. Check them all out. And you can, Instagram,
Deliriously Raw, blog, and Twitter, Tech Dirty with me. If you want practical ways to flourish at life, check out the blog. More to come, and NASA, if you're watching, holla at your boy.
Holla.
Space.
Holla.
Put it out in the energy.
Holla.
Put it out in the universe.
There it is. We're going to space.
All right. Thanks, man.
In this slum, all down the beast.
Me as a Marcus carry them
Them a beast. And I box them till them weak. Me no girl chick. Cause me now.
Ethiopia, where King Selassie come from. Holy Ethiopia, John Hoy, Holy Ethiopia, where King Selassie come from. Holy Ethiopia, John Hoy.
Tools, no food, inspiration. I screw up them face. On me, the man with prophecy.
Fire.
Who shall be the best? Each of our natures.
Holy Ethiopia, where King Selassie come from. Holy Ethiopia.
All right. Thank you for that brief intermission. Welcome back to Me For You. Thank you all out there who had a chance to hear Anthony Holloway's story. Today right now we're going to bring up my man Monk. He goes by Monk Eternal. This brother has had transformational change in his own life, and he endeavors to bring transformational change to others. He's a public speaker, he's an author, and without the necessary words, you'll be able to see this brother is a bodybuilder. So with a round of applause, let's welcome Monk.
Some said never, but they never done come. Yeah, and took our trust. It's been winning, but the lovers ain't done. Yeah, not on my watch. Took all my rights away. Telling me how to pray. Won't let us demonstrate. Wrong. Thinking I don't belong. Hiding behind a gun. Hoping we're gonna run. Wrong. We are the lions. We are the chosen. We gonna shine out the dark. We are the movement. This generation. You gotta know who we are. Who we are. Yeah, if I.
What's up? First of all, thank you for having me. I feel blessed to be in this space, and if anybody out here could see this room full of beautiful people, you wouldn't even believe it. So, chicken soup. Chicken soup. That's the theme of this topic, is chicken soup. So the first thing, a few things that came to mind when I heard chicken soup. The first thing is, I don't eat animals. I know y'all say I'm tripping. I don't eat animals. I ain't animals in 7 years. 7 years I haven't eaten an animal. And the reason why I don't eat animals is because I believe if you want a peaceful life, you got to start with what you put in your body. And everybody knows everything, every thought is energy. There's nothing you can see or not see. It's not energy. So what kind of energy are you putting in your body, right? I had no clue about what veganism or vegetarianism was until I started this journey to finding myself. So that's the first thing that came to mind when I heard chicken soup. It's like I ain't never gonna eat that shit again, right? Ever. Because I understand how powerful it is and how it changes your energy. The second thing that I thought of when I thought about chicken soup is my childhood. And when I was sick as a child, it's the first time I really felt my mother's unconditional love. And she usually always brought me chicken soup. I was one of 7 children. So it was a lot of children to spread love to. But when you were sick, you got her full attention. And with that chicken soup, I usually had a 7-Up and some crackers. I don't know why 7-Up was a cure-all back in the day, but that's what some of the older cats in here probably know. 7-Up, crackers, and soup. That's what we got. Now we learning that a can full of sugar really doesn't do anything good for you. So, the third thing I thought about when I thought about chicken soup was my dysfunctional childhood. It went straight from unconditional love to dysfunction. So I'm one of 7 kids, like I said, and we were born in extreme poverty. And at 3.5 years old, my father passes away. Now I didn't think that was really had an effect on me until I started making this journey to finding self. I didn't know how big of an impact it had on me. Fast forward a few years, then I find out my limits as far as who I am, what they tell me that I am. A black man, we got limits. Fast forward a little bit further, then I realized classism. And when kids start to click up, you lose friends. Because now someone told them a lie. Someone told them a lie, now they think they can't hang with you. So you start to learn these lessons. Fast forward a little bit more. You're not that educated. You didn't have the best education in the world. Now you got another insecurity to worry about. Fast forward a little bit more. What are you going to do? You're insecure. And the insecurity been building up and building up and building up and building up from day one. But I found the cure-all for that. Alcohol. Alcohol suppresses the lower vibrations and allows the high vibration to come and gives you this fake sense of courage. I started to make friends, but I started to make the wrong friends. And I became addicted to the substance that allowed me to be my true self. So I thought. So this is the only way I could really function. I couldn't go to the club without being drunk. I couldn't talk to a female without being drunk. I couldn't do anything with confidence without having alcohol. But the only setback was it was killing my body. It was killing my body so much so that I started to have internal bleeding. So I did this for about 20 years, running the streets, doing the things that come along with it. I was quicker to give someone a 2-piece, right? I was quicker to sell drugs. I was quicker to sleep with random women. I had a gang of kids on the way, these 20 years, different women. I was really lost, but thought that I wasn't until this medical condition started. This was when I was 38. This was about 12 years ago. So I had to make a decision at that point. What am I going to do? Am I going to check out or am I going to tap in? And that's when I sat down and meditated. And that's when it all changed. Every day, every week, every month, year after year after year after year, I sat. And what happened was my conditioning started to peel off. My insecurity started to peel off. I've been sober every day since that day I made that decision. And it was hard, and I didn't know what to do because that was my crutch. And then I started to feel different. My perceptions, I started to care about people that I never cared about. I started to love myself. I never loved myself before because of the story that I was told and the story that I held on to all those years. So it was a purging and a healing process that was not fun. You know, when you start to take that red pill, it's not fun. It's a roller coaster ride, and it's scary a lot of times because you got to deal with everything you've been suppressing for almost 40 years. So I came to the conclusion that it's not about knowing what to do. It's about realizing who you are. I started to realize who I was. And who I was a perfect expression of God. And who everybody else was that same expression in a different form. But we all come from one source. And that brought me to, 3 years into my meditation, brought me to a question that was asked me. Are you a vegetarian? Because I was at Buttercup. Anybody's ever been there down Jacqueline Square. And I was asked, are you a vegetarian? And I said yes immediately, never thinking about it before. So I had to Google it. You know, Google is our friend. And I Googled it and it said, you didn't want to hurt any other beings. And you made a connection to all life. And this aligned with the way I was feeling. I was feeling for homeless people. I was feeling for addicts. I was feeling for people that had been oppressed. So it fell right in line with that. I said that makes sense because I don't think anybody in this room can go kill an animal and eat that animal. I really believe that nobody in this room, if you said you want a bacon, I said there's a pig in the back, go handle it. I'll pass on the bacon this time. So I made that connection to all life, and that's why I stopped eating animals. And it just with alcohol, it changed my vibration. And when I started putting this low vibrational energy into my body, it changed my vibration at all. And I made a greater connection to everyone and everything. And I realized that my purpose here is to help people to see that God in themselves and to get them past their insecurities as well. Give them tools to get past their insecurity. And that's all I gotta say. That's what chicken soup brought me to.
Ashe. One more round of applause. Monk, hats off, brother, because I think your words were needed, well-rounded, deep, and eternal. And we got a question.
So the journey happened from an illness, right? And so I think, and your illness happened at around 40 years of age. And I just want to say it's not surprising. It's not surprising because if you look at a lot of psychologists, they say that men in general don't come to know themselves until they're around 40 years old. And that's like when the real journey, because you start to tap into who you are, right? And that was the key phrase that I latched onto in what you said, because it sounded like when you talked about not knowing your father, that the journey got longer because you didn't get to know your father. You didn't start on the journey towards yourself. And so I just was hoping you could expound upon where you think the separation of you getting on the journey happened with relation to your father.
Well, I was my father at the time of this illness, right? When I was growing up, I came home drunk one time, and my mom said, "You remind me of your father." I came home sloppy drunk, talking crazy, and I was like, "Yeah, whatever." But it only resonated with me. It only hit me after I started the healing journey that she said that to me, because she used to talk a certain way about my dad. You know, he's violent, he was alcoholic, he was this, he was that, and then she said, "You remind me of your father." And I was like, "Oh, now it makes sense. This is the cycle. This is what it is, right?" until you see something different, until your story changes, and a lot of times our story does not change. We're just part of the same cycle, right? I had choices at that time, and my dad made the opposite choice. He chose to check out. I chose to tap in. That was the only difference between me and him. The thing about the pattern of my life, it was all playing the victim. From day one, I played the victim. When you play victim, you don't have any power. You're giving your power away. So as soon as I sat down and started to realize who I was, I no longer played the victim, and I became powerful. I tapped into what I was and what we all are. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
It does. That answers my question beautifully.
Yeah.
Oh,
We have another question from Shelby on our stream, and thank you, Shelby, for the question. But Shelby wants to know, before people get to those body damaging habits, how does one identify the limiting beliefs, and then how do they work past them?
Well, because it wasn't in my case, it wasn't that. Look, the universe is gonna tap you lightly at first, right? If you're not tuned in to the signs and what it's trying to tell you, it's gonna hit you harder and harder and harder till it's either gonna be you're out of here or you finally wake up. And when I look back on it, I seen the thing. I seen the signs. Every time I would get hit a little bit harder, dodging prison. The whole thing is like something's trying to tell me something, but I wasn't in a place to hear. So I don't know how to answer that question, because if you're not in a place to hear, right? Only thing I can suggest is to start some type of practice, right? Mindfulness practice. Then get you more in tune. So meditation, it clears your energy out. Plus it makes you in tune. It's like an antenna, right? You sit down and you listen to God. They say meditation, prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening. So when you sit down in stillness, a lot of times things come to you. And I didn't know anything about that back in the day, but I believe if she was to start a practice, she would be able to listen and hear the signs and get those signs before you really have to make a decision.
And Shelby, that's a great question, and if you don't mind, maybe we can save that question for the next section where we have all three folks with an opportunity to address that. So great question. We have another question.
My brother, thank you for that. I see it. There's something you said that is very important, and is when you took up arms with what actually took your father out, which is the taboo, right? And you said something which is, you, in my perspective, or I see this, is that we put ourselves to not see it or understand it, because it becomes DNA. The behavior becomes DNA. The emotion becomes DNA.
Yes.
You know, but you said something which is, you redirected that DNA. You are the conductor. You can change the performance. You know, just like a car, when you put the work into it and it performs at its highest level. You are the conductor, you know, of that. Because you see, when you take that poison and make it your antidote, because you said earlier, that fake, you know, substance that's supposed to be making you better. But you see, that's again, the antidote's supposed to help you.
Exactly.
You know, or change the course of that poison. But that poison become your antidote. See, and I'm happy for you. I really love your story, and it really hit home with my mother, because she passed of cancer.
Thank you, brother.
I can go to that.
Ashe. Appreciate you. Let's give Monk one more round of applause.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. That was deep. And deep in the sense that it was just real. And looking at that brother, you wouldn't expect to hear some of those challenges, because many of you heard me talk about my story, and I think the last time we talked about milk and cookies, and I was talking about eating Oreos to pick up weight. I'm pretty svelte, but I'm a small dude, and so it's funny how we look at each other and the things that we assume about each other, and so I really resonated with some of the things he was saying, and I appreciate that. So I hope you took something from that. So this next speaker, we'll keep the show moving so that we can get to our second half. This next speaker, this gentleman, who's our next speaker? You have to forgive me. Oh, Jamil. Okay, Jamil. Where's Jamil? Okay, Jamil Holmes. I believe he's from Virginia. A friend of my man Harvey's over here. Jamil's from Oakland, and he's gracing the stage. Uber of cleaning industry. He's an entrepreneur, and you're just gonna love his get up and his swag when he gets to the stage. So I appreciate y'all, and you have to bear with me. I'm a little scatterbrained today. So Jamil.
I'm Jamil Holmes. A pleasure to be here. I was introduced to come here today by a good friend of mine, Harvey. Definitely pleasure to be here. I love that song, Stylistics. I can definitely say I wouldn't be here without some close people. And I'm just going to kind of go in and straight into it. I remember hearing about the chicken soup, and I'm thinking, like, when I was younger, I used to hear my aunties and my cousins sit there and talk about the tea. The tea. They wanted to talk about the tea. What's the tea for the day? What's the tea at church? What's the tea? Sister Johnson, they came to church late, and right when they was about to end service, and I was like, what? So, I'm telling you, something strong about the tea. But when I saw chicken soup, what it really did, it made me think more so of, what information can I give that's going to be constructive. So let me get to brewing for you guys real quick. And I'm going to start off really with, just talking a little bit more about myself, my experiences, and I'll talk about some of the things that's going on today. So let's get in and let's get out, and let's get you guys going to where we're going today.
Let's get in.
Coming up, I was born out in Summit Hospital, right there in Oakland, California. Proud. My mom, single mom, worked real hard, worked her butt off. Try not to make it a typical story, hard cycle for a single mom to be kind of going out working hard, and then my grandma from Oakland coming to get me after daycare, so I'm going back to Oakland every single day. So I'm like right in my hood. I'm like, cool. Right with my cousins, and my grandma, she had a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and it was 11 of us that stayed there. Sometimes my mom would work until 8, 9 o'clock. She was tired. She was exhausted. So she was like, Mama Helen, can you keep them? She was like, yeah, I'll keep them, baby. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, Devin, move over. She got the little couch that flip open with, the mattress that's in the couch, the futon. That's what you call it, futon. And my uncle's in there with his daughter. So it's 2 people, me, Dominique, Monique, Tiffany, Devin, girl. 2-bedroom house. And we all in the just scrunched up, nowhere to go. And I'm like, man, this is hard. But I realized, the sacrifice my mom was making to going to work every day. And I'm like, I have to work like that. And, my dad was definitely in my life, but, distant, like a lot of my friends. So growing up, I had it kind of hard. I had a lot of support growing up. But as I got older, like many of us, you become on your own. You have to make decisions based on the advice that was given to you. So as I talked about brewing before, I was like, okay, well, cool. The closest person to me actually was my dad's mom. She's no longer here on this earth, and I love her dearly, and I think about her every single day. But I know if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Loving my mom, loving my dad, and the support that I did have, that when I lost her, I lost part of myself. And I also understood that I couldn't let that be the reason why I couldn't go forward with myself. So just to keep brewing, I went to school in Hayward, all throughout Hayward schools. Graduated from Hayward High School. Was a knucklehead before, got kicked out of class, was going to other people's schools. I was at Berkeley High. I think more than I was at Hayward High, and I was never enrolled there. Skipping school, my mom was like, you got to do this, you got to do that. I was focused on girls. It's typical. Basketball player. I was like, hey. Went to college down there in Mississippi. My grandma, she was like, promise me you're going to get your degree. I was like, nah, that's not really for me. I want to be a basketball player. You know, I was playing video games. I was seeing what the people was doing on TV. I'm like trying to be like Kobe. You know, rest in peace.
Kobe.
And you know, she's like, promise me you'll get your degree. You know, I don't care. You know about anything else. Even if you're gonna be a bad person, if you want to be a bank robber. I remember I was watching the movie. She said, be the best bank robber you could be, baby. And she was just so supportive of me becoming the best at whatever I wanted to do. And that was the kind of leader she was, and that's the kind of leader I wanted to be. So. I was down there in Mississippi, Tougaloo College, playing basketball. It was cool, having friends and stuff. I'm from California. I'm feeling like cool. I got all the attention. You know, I was feeling like I was the man. And you know, grandma, boom, you know, passed away. Something hit me. And I was like, dang, a lot was going on. I had an injury. I went back to California. I'm like, basketball is over with. I don't want to go to college. My grandma just died. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I remember I made that promise. And you know, word is bond. I tried to go to Cal State East Bay, but when you go to Cal State East Bay out in Hayward from Tougaloo College, it's a HBCU. It ain't the same type of live campus. You feel me? So I'm not sitting here watching the you know the Q Dogs step against the Gamblers, whatever. I'm sitting here watching people commute back and forth with their backpacks and stuff. I'm like, y'all boring. Y'all on campus for what? Like, why are we in school? Then I realized education is so important because thousands of years ago, our ancestors wasn't even allowed to learn. And I have an incredible opportunity to sit here and educate myself and get somewhere. So if this isn't going to work for me, I need to find something that is. And that's when somebody told me about University of Phoenix. I was like, cool. So mind you, at this time, you know, I'm still somewhat of a hothead, not listening to my mom. So she's like, all right, get out. If you know, you think you know how to do everything on your own, get out. And I thanked her for that because that had to happen about 4 or 5 times, you know, for me to really get it. And once it happened, I was just like, I got to get out. So cool, I'm out. You know, I want to do my own thing anyway. And what can I say? I went through so many different jobs. I can't even tell y'all everywhere I worked. I'm gonna get, like I said, I'm gonna get in and out. Applebee's. First job was going door to door, selling newspapers, knocking on the door, making up stories just to get people to buy the $20 newspaper subscription for the San Jose Mercury News. White Banks to pick me and my friends up, 7 or 8 of us. And I'm just like, man, like this is crazy. And I went from that to Applebee's, bussing tables, sweeping, mopping the floor, then eventually becoming a cook. And until 2 people saw me at Applebee's one day and was just like, you know, we want you to be a manager. You seem like you know what you're doing around here. So I went to Applebee's and I had my first manager job. You know, not Applebee's, sorry, Radio Shack. And I got my first manager job at Radio Shack. Doing that for a little bit. And I started kind of understanding how business worked and how to grow a business and how business worked. That was one thing I've always done was pay attention because my grandma, who I was so close with, she owned about 7 properties. And she worked at the post office for $4.65 an hour. So figuring out how in the hell did this lady have 7 houses, 7 properties, originally from Mississippi, moving her whole family to Oakland, California, and having all these homes. They sold about 4 homes to pay off her debt, and she had 3 kids, my dad and his 2 sisters. She gave them a property apiece. I'm like, if I can go out like that, man, that's the living. So, you know, that again, that hit me. So having all these jobs, I was still in school at University of Phoenix, getting my bachelor's degree, and definitely earned my bachelor's degree in business finance back in 2017. So when I got that degree, I was like, cool, I did it. I went to her grave out in Manteca, and I just cried. You know, I was just like, this, you know, this is what you wanted me to do. You're not here. I promised that I was going to get this degree. I'm like, you're not back yet. And I'm like, she's not coming back. So next move was, man, I have nowhere to go. I'm at my dad's house. My dad's just like, you know, you can stay here, but I need help with this and that. I'm like, all right, cool. I got a little job, but I'm in school. I'm maxing out all my credit cards. I literally got $15,000, $20,000 in debt of credit cards. I'm still paying them off because I needed money for books. I needed money for that chicken soup. I needed money for top ramen, in other words. So I needed money because I needed to eat. Couldn't go to my mama's house, couldn't go to my dad's house because I wanted to do my own thing. I had to take my own responsibility. So what did I do? I educated myself. Another one of my jobs was happened to be at Bank of America. I was a personal banker there. I got knowledge that I didn't get in schools, that some of those other lighter people didn't teach some of us darker people about how to go out and buy a house, how to be a homeowner, how to take ownership. And I was still learning how to be a manager, but I never learned how to be a leader. And I didn't learn how to do that till later. And understanding the difference between a leader and a manager is very different because when you learn how to lead, you bring people with you. When you learn how to manage, you delegate duties. You can show and display what to do to somebody that you're leading and get them to be able to eventually grow and be that leader that you want them to be. And understanding that, just transitioning to job. I went to Chipotle, was a general manager. I went to Denny's, was a general manager, and didn't really get it because at this moment I'm still managing and not leading. So you know, I realized something my grandma didn't do is become a owner of her own business. Yes, she had homes. Yes, she was invested into real estate. But what is something that I know that she would have done if she had the opportunity, and that would start her own business, you know, work for herself. And recently I was able to do that. I was able to own a custodial company, and it was a blessing. And now I'm a business owner, looking hopefully to really be more successful. And I'm a homeowner, and I couldn't be any proud of where I'm at now. So again, if you know you see me out there, I'm on LinkedIn. You know, you can talk to me, you can ask me any question, and I'm very happy to answer it because I know where I started, from bussing tables to being a homeowner. From talking about the tea to now talking about how I can help others get that chicken soup.
Chicken soup. Brother, and you kept that under 10 minutes. Damn. I appreciate you, brother. Let's give this man a round of applause. So we have a couple of questions in the room. Actually, go ahead.
Thank you for sharing your story. My question is, oftentimes in the Valley, there's like this talk of like education not being so important these days, and it sounds like you went through like different institutions and went through your own journey to get your degree. Do you feel that the education and degree is important today?
Education and degree is important depending on your field. I'll never tell somebody to go out there and spend $60,000 to $80,000 because that's what I'm in debt now. If you're not going to use that degree, if you know for sure you're going to use that degree, if you're going to go and be a nurse, if you're going to go be a lawyer, go and get that degree because that's a career that you know that's something that you're passionate about. Not necessarily about the money. The money will come later. That passion is what's more important. If you go and get that education for something that's going to fuel your passion, then the education is worth it. For me, I had to go and get my degree because I wanted to own my own business. And when it came to numbers, I never wanted to be cheated. You know, I never wanted my CFO or somebody in finance to be able to embezzle money from my company because I wasn't smart enough to be able to count 1 plus 1. I didn't want to say 1 plus 1 was 11. I wanted to say 1 plus 1 was 2.
So we also have a question from our Crowdcast audience from Jakari. Jakari wants to know, what is your current inspiration to continue pushing forward?
My current inspiration definitely would have to be definitely still my grandma. I mean, my children, but my grandma. My grandma will always be my main inspiration because when I lost her, I knew that life had to go on. And keeping her forward, great question, Jakari, keeping her ahead, I knew that she would be proud of me. I could look up in the sky, I could look up in the air, and I could smile and be like, you know what? I know she's proud. Thank you, Jakari.
And then we got one more question. Daryl wants to know from our Crowdcast audience. Thank you, Daryl. How would you describe your mindset when you approach business? And would you say you have that appointment unaltering aggression like Kobe's wisdom and cunning of LeBron?
Thank you, Daryl, for your question. I can't really compare business to sports. I mean, in a way you can. There's so many different ways that you absolutely can do it. But if you ever watch the show Shark Tank, you have to know when a deal is right and when a deal is wrong. If you have to alter a deal, then you go in and you make that deal what you want it to be. And if it's not comfortable for you moving forward, making the best business deal, then you always use that brain. Never think with emotion because emotion will always get you hurt. Mentally and sometimes physically. So always use your brain when thinking. And that's something Kobe did to me better than LeBron.
Awesome. Hey, well, we are about that time, so I am going to give this man another round of applause. And then we are going to take you to intermission. We're going to take a 10-minute intermission so we can set up for the second half of our show, which is the couch session. This session is all about you all out there in the audience, so please think about your questions. Throw them out there. We're going to field them between the three gentlemen up here, so they're going to be talking to themselves about the topics and the questions that you pose. So please think about those questions for the gentlemen that we have coming up in the second half. And then, I did want to comment, my man here, because I am Jamaican. and I think this brother's had more jobs than me. And so I'm going to ask you, are you Jamaican?
You know, on my mother's father's side, I got to check. I don't know. Somewhere over there, I probably got to check.
Why hard back man? But anyway, so with that, we're going to kick us out with some reggae and then take you all to intermission. Please, please, please don't forget to donate. And then follow everybody on IG. We'll share those on the chat. And then have a great time until we get back to you in the next 10 minutes. Thank you.
Nothing feels better than this. Nothing feels better. Nothing feels better than this. Nothing feels better tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Is my mic hot? We can start turning down the music. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back. We are here with our three speakers. Welcome back. I know you can't see me out there. We're here with our three speakers and our co-host, Harvey. This is what we call the couch session, where you all can have your thoughts, questions, and concerns addressed from the perspective of the male psyche. These three gentlemen and our co-host, Harvey. So please, please, please participate, and we're going to jump right in it. And somebody asked me a question about the state of today's affairs and how we're feeling as black men. So I'm going to just toss that one back up here, and then we can go with that and go from there.
I definitely threw that at him because I didn't touch on police brutality, and I definitely wanted to because it's definitely important, not only as men, but as black men, to stick together during this time that's going on, and that's something that I definitely want to voice out there as much as I can, to use every single platform that I'm a part of to definitely voice that, because things that's going on it's just not right. And I think our response to it, besides the riots, besides the looting, we haven't taken enough, I would say, responsibility to talk and to do what we're doing right now, and to really push these type of platforms that support not only black men but people being treated as human beings to be done in the right way. And I think if we have more platforms such as this one, voice that strong, that strong feeling as black men that we need to be, stick together and be smart and be vocal. I think that would be positive energy going forward and kind of really calm things down, because this slavery and the way things are working, it's never going to end the way. To have the odds stacked against us, that's never going to change. It's never going to change. Odds are always going to be stacked against us because we're black. And knowing that, you have to work together and stick together and latch together, and not necessarily fight and be out in the world because that's what they want us to do. They want us to riot. They want us to be out and give them reasons to arrest us. And I think that was something I didn't touch on, and I'm glad that that was brought up just now.
I don't know. This one hit me real different for some reason. You know, I'm a 60s baby. You like to always point out my age.
I'm never gonna do that one.
But I'm a civil rights baby. You know what I'm saying? So, out of all the police brutality that I've ever seen or experienced, this one was just way different for some reason. Probably the coldness, the callousness, just the look of I don't give a fuck why he's taking someone's life. And it was the pain so deep that it was almost like that was 400 years of pain that was in that moment. Like all of it. All the hangings, all the lynchings, all the shootings in the back, all the mistreatment of black people in that moment. And there's people that I know that aren't criers. And everybody I talk to is like, man, I've been crying for 3 days. We felt it all. So this is a process, I think, for us to heal and to come to terms with the past in order to get past this as far as healing ourselves. There's so much trauma that we have trapped in our bodies. And this is why we act the way we do at times. We don't know why we act crazy at times. We got trauma. This is in our DNA. This is passed down through generations. It hasn't been healed. And I think this is a calling for us to heal ourselves. It's not about anybody else. So once we know who we are, we can take our power back.
Absolutely. Ashe. And Baba Ji mentioned taboos and explained to me the plight of our own taboo and recognizing that is our journey to overcome that, or else we will continue to fall victim to it through our ancestry, through our lineage. And so I appreciate those words. Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, Monk hit on it in terms of what I've been thinking about more is, I think, two things around this situation. One is healing of self, right? But then also, like, reading, and if you read, whether it's spiritual text, religious text, that there's also a collective consciousness. And what I mean by that, meaning, like, yes, you have consciousness of your own, and, like, you can bend reality and change things in the world. But then there's also a collective consciousness, which is like how all of us think. So that's why even these spaces right here are important, right? Because this energy in this room can help shift 400 years of oppression, right? And it takes, right, what's the quote? The best time to plant a tree is either 20 years ago or today, right? So today, what we're doing right now, we need more of, but I think it goes down to self-healing, but I also think, especially as black men, like, we need to educate ourselves on business, politics, and real estate. Like, those are three that are top of mind. But, for example, like, if you wanted to make a difference right now, yes, you can share a video. Yes, you can go to a protest. But also think about entrepreneurial. Like, what can you do with $1? If you own real estate, could you open it up for people who, you know, whether they're refugees or whether they're, you know, in their communities, they've been cast out, right? So I think sometimes in a black community, like, and even for immigrant communities, it's like a subconscious thing is that money is evil because sometimes you lack it. But, like, money is actually power, influence, and I don't mean power in a dirty way. I mean power in the sense that, like, I need Denzel to do a healing circle, and I actually have the fiduciary responsibility and capability to actually pay this man for his work and for him to come heal my people, right? So I think we need to, one, heal ourselves, as Monk said, and as we've been talking about all night, but also, think about entrepreneurship in a tactical way. Like, think about money in terms of, like, how can you save your community? Yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, those are wise words. And as this space has turned into a magical place of gathering and ideation and generation and healing. And so I'm so grateful for everyone that, you know, steps into this room. And somebody who was here not too long ago, who's not here today, was having a study session, and she said, something to the effect of, shoot, I just blanked. Tell me, what was your last thought?
I was talking about using entrepreneurship as a way to free your community.
Yeah, okay, we'll forget it.
It'll come back to you.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have any thoughts on what these three just talked about?
I don't know. I find it ironic how we're in a time where some of us have almost gotten numb to this, but we also can feel what other people feel that aren't aware of our numbness to it. So what I mean by that is, I feel like some more people are being aware, and I feel that energy too. You know, like as much as I've been feeling this numbness feeling for years now, because we've seen it over and over again, we've heard about it, you know, we felt it in our communities. I also feel more people feeling this, seeing these inhumane acts and these energies. So I don't know. I think, you know, in the oneness of it, I'm happy that we're all in a space where we can be present now and feel what's going on, so we can act on it and turn it over. I don't have any suggestions at this point. I don't really know as far as, like, you know, what to tell people to do. I just know that, you know, in coming to peace with myself, I just want to be able to be at peace with myself in moments like this, and share that love and that energy of self with the world. So I'm just glad to be able to be here, because I think that in hearing you guys, it helps me sharpen that. You know, it helps me tap into some space where it's like, I relate to these guys. Thank you for the vulnerability that you share, because I relate to that as a black man, and that's the healing factor, the vulnerability. So I'm just elated to be here and share this space with you guys.
Well, I think he's doing exactly what you should be doing. Someone asked me, well, how do you change the world? Change yourself. If we all tapped in, who would there be to fight with? Who would there be to hate?
Right.
We'd all be one big family, right? Yeah. I know it sounds like utopia, but I'm just saying, if everybody did the self-work, what would it be?
And I'll give you an example of that, because I think, like, I truly, to my core, believe that as well. But I think when the trauma's happening, you can be cynical and just be like, yeah, that sounds great, Mon, but how do you actually... And I'll give you an example of, like, how I physically did it with myself. So, like, me, I work at a mental health startup. I'm one of the only black employees there. And George Floyd was murdered, I think, that Monday or Tuesday, and nobody said anything until Thursday when I brought it up.
No.
And the only reason I brought it up was because, again, back to having a practice, a spiritual practice, I'm like, I take a lot of walks now because I'm quarantining. I'm losing my goddamn mind. I'm taking my daily walk, and again, sometimes when you take a walk and you have space and you have presence, right, back to chicken soup, I was like, damn, like the trauma started to come up, but then I started to realize that, like, I buried myself in my productivity. I actually was hiding behind my work. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a job, I have things that I need to do, like people pay me to do a certain task, and I have things to do, and I have goals to accomplish. But I was hiding behind my work, and I came off of that walk and was just like, yo, that's unacceptable. Like, I have to, yeah, I don't want to be the only black person in the company to be speaking up, but it goes back to responsibility. So when I shared it, similar to what you were saying, Harvey, like, you can feel that people are feeling this, even if people aren't saying it. Yes. As soon as I said it, woodworks. Everybody started talking about how, yo, I've been feeling this way, I didn't know how to bring it up. Yo, this happened to me, XYZ, and just, so yeah, you gotta start with yourself, but it starts with...
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, I wanted to pause there, because there's somebody in the audience who's been sharing a lot with her personal experience in this same space. And I wanted to given her opportunity to potentially chime in or ask a question if she wanted to. Because I know, Nancy, you've shared some similar sentiments about interviewing or people soliciting your advice when it comes to the space we're in, and not having the empathy to understand your own situation. And so, you know, at being a black woman in this space, would love to understand how you might feel in that regard. No?
Yeah, if you want to come on.
You don't have to come on camera.
Well, I mean, so the conversation I've been having is that for a period of time, a lot of my friends who happen to be, I guess I have a lot of white friends, have been reaching out to me and asking for support from me, the person who's also kind of dealing with a lot as well. And it's a juxtaposition with myself because I want to be supportive, but I also am dealing with my own mourning. And, I very much have been a little frustrated by the fact that I had to learn this shit too. Like I didn't know what industrialism or industrial racism was, systematic racism. And so, I've just been encouraging people, for one, to just show awareness, and two, come to me with a solution. Don't come to me asking for my help. Does that make sense? Come to me with, hey, I did my learning. I think this might be the area I can move forward in. I'm going to do this, right? That to me is authentic allyship. There's a lot of performative allyship going on right now. And so I just want to acknowledge and call out that there are people who actually want to actualize change and not just talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Message. So yeah, and so we all find ourselves thrust into this space, and I have my own unique story because as a black man, I guess from the outside looking in, yes, I have black skin, but everybody's story is unique in and of the same, and I share my own sentiments. But because of the space that I'm in, I didn't have a choice of whether or not I wanted to speak, or I wanted to answer for anything, or the like, and so. It hits me in a different way, in the sense that in many ways I haven't shared the typical African American black experience. My mother is Colombian, my father is Jamaican. But yet when everybody else sees me, their expectations are the same. And so for me, it hits me a little different. And so I appreciate you all sharing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Before we move on from this topic, do you have any other thoughts on this one? Okay, so I cut you off.
No, we let's move on.
Next subject.
Okay, you have a question? No. All right, so I wanted to touch base. We all talked about chicken soup, and you said something earlier that resonated with me, and actually everyone said something. But we talk about this process, and we talk about the stages to it, and this journey is never actually, there's no end point, right? And so you talked about the recognition that you don't fuck with chicken soup. You don't fuck with chicken because you know what it does to your body. And I'm on this side of the equation where I'm just getting to that point where I'm just starting to find the tuning fork for my body. And I'm realizing the energy that it takes to consume certain foods and the effects that certain foods have on me. But I'm also still on that camp where I'm like, bacon is fucking great as fuck. So, for all of, not everybody's journey is the same, but I want to get your perspectives on how you start aligning yourself to what feels true to you.
Well, I think you just said the word right there, feel. Like, I think, and again, we talked about this a week ago, but this book I'm reading, Conversations with God, one of the first, he has this conversation with God in the book, and one of the first questions he asks is like, how do you talk with people? And the first thing God said is like, I rarely ever talk. Let's replace that with the word communicate. Right? And I often communicate through, now again, you can be religious, you can be, Christian, you can follow whatever, spiritual, but in the book he talks about like the highest form of truth is feeling. Right? So like oftentimes, just like you said, you're calibrating, you're fine-tuning your fork, you know what shit makes you feel like. Yeah, you love bacon, but you know what it makes you feel like afterwards. So it's like, you gotta tap it. And in terms of your truth, it's what you feel. You can't articulate it into words. And I know Mike is gonna love me because from a neuroscience standpoint, there's actually more neurons in your gut than there is in your brain. And oftentimes your gut has been called your second brain. because the same neural pathways that are in your gut or in your brain, there's actually more. So, yeah, your gut will actually tell you a lot of these things. And we all have these feelings, and sometimes we can't explain them. Sometimes it's a toxic relationship. Sometimes it's food you shouldn't be eating.
Well, that's why people with bad diets really have a much higher cases of depression, because your diet controls your mood. So when you eat that fruit, watermelon and all those fresh fruits, you feel energized, you feel good. You eat a real heavy meal, and next thing you know, you're like this. You know what I'm saying? You're down. And it takes so much more energy to process, meat. That's why everybody's tired after a turkey dinner. Everybody's laying it down. And it also affects your mental, right? And like I said, energy can't be created or destroyed. So what kind of energy are you taking in your body? What was the state of that animal when it got killed? What kind of energy is in its DNA? You really have to be aware of this, because you think it doesn't affect you, but it does. I know people that stopped eating meat and then stopped having anxiety attacks. How scared are the animals that you're putting in your body? They're terrified. Not only that, they've been stressed out their whole life. And we run around here and wonder why we stressed out.
And a bigger conversation we were having back there was around educating yourself. Around, like, just because your parents ate one way, or just because you ate, like, we're talking about nutrition, but with anything, with money, with spirituality, with anything, like, educate yourself. Like I always tell my little brother, don't let school get in the way of your education.
Facts.
Like school is if there was a fucking pie chart, school is like 1% of the way you can educate yourself and your soul.
One thing about the history books we were learning growing up.
Exactly.
It wasn't real history. I'm just saying. Someone told me a story about school, and they said another country invented public schools, right? To get everybody to think the same way, right? So they say, we got free school for you, and then indoctrinate them, right? America seen that and said, how can we control our people? Well, we get them when we're young, we give them this curriculum, and they're going to fall right in line. And that's what's going on ever since they had public schools, right? We have this history that we are teaching our kids. It's not our history. Right.
Not to make it a history lesson, but like even America, if you look at the history of like the Cold War, they didn't want they wanted people to be patriotic. And if you were a communist, like it was a wrap for you. It was like you had COVID. Like, nah, we not fucking with you. But the Pledge of Allegiance started in the Cold War to indoctrinate and to
brainwash.
Like you still, a lot of people, if you attended public school, you know the Pledge of Allegiance.
Brainwash.
And you just know it. Like you don't even know why you say it. You don't know.
You know what else they gave to you? Milk.
And now we come.
Hold on.
Nutrition.
No, it's not nutrition. 75% of black people cannot digest milk. It's not for us, right? We're the only species that's grown that drinks milk. Why is that? Who else drinks milk that's grown up? What other animal that's full grown drinks milk? If a woman was to come give you milk and said, your mouth was super dry, you ate some brownies, and she came in, said, this is some of my milk, I know you thirsty. Ain't nobody in here unless you a freak. Ain't no one in here gonna drink it.
Speak for yourself.
But what I'm saying is, we'll go out in the yard and suck a cow's tit. That's what I'm saying. It don't make no sense. Another animal's milk for their babies, dude. It doesn't make any sense. How we're eating doesn't make any sense. We're eating feet, noses, necks. It makes no sense. We gotta be more conscious. When we eat, when we sit down to eat, we gotta be like, what is this? And what is it doing for me?
So what do you guys say about people that are just trying to get their engine started as far as getting out of the societal stranglehold and finding their unique selves?
I think you know what to do already. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Right? This is life. We're born, we're programmed, then we try our whole life to figure out who we really are. Right? You didn't know you was black till someone told you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Everything you didn't know you was until someone told you.
Might not would be.
Right? And white people, they didn't know they was white till someone told them. Right. And they didn't know they had these privileges until someone said they did. Mm-hmm. And they told, hey, you're better than these people. But in reality, we're not there is no race. It's only a race because of the social programming. That's it. There is no race. We are all from the same source, come in different packaging. That's it. And the reason why the world is the way it is today is we all believe this story, right? We all believe these individual stories. It's not true.
You mean to tell me that Jesus isn't some white-haired man with freckles and some Birkenstocks?
Yeah, well, he is. but he is. We ain't going to go there. I'm going to tell you like this. I mean, religion, it doesn't matter what religion you are.
Yeah.
It all points to the same. It all points to the same direction, right?
Yeah.
It all started from love, right? So Alan Watts is a philosopher. He has a saying that says, right, the word water can't make you wet. It doesn't matter what you call it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what you call it.
There it is.
It don't matter what you call it.
Alan Watson, I never heard that one.
It doesn't matter. And we get caught up putting these little boxes and separate. And when they can separate us, we don't have any power.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't know who you are, you have no power. Right? If we would realize that we are essentially God, there's nothing outside of us, and that everybody else is too, we win it. And it's up to us to put this narrative out there.
Okay, so I would love for us to take a pause and emphasize that statement, the God statement, one more time, and then let's break that down. Because I think some of us as black men haven't truly been able to appreciate that. So if we can't understand it, how can we appreciate it? So let us understand.
I just believe 100% that say there's a big ball of light, and that big ball of light, and I'm not talking about the Big Bang Theory, explodes. We all have a piece of that in us, and it's unlimited. This is who we are, right? Beyond the flesh, beyond the mental, beyond all that, our source, that energy, that prana, is there in all of us, right? This is just a meat suit that we're using to come here to do whatever we came here to do. I believe we all got what we're supposed to come here to do. It's a contract. We came here to do it. And it's a game that we got to try to figure out before we get out of here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I believe we're all perfect expressions of God. I really believe that. Whatever you want to envision that as, and we're here to do something. And this is part of it right here.
I definitely believe we are all here to do something. We all have a purpose. And I think majority of what we do in life is try to figure that purpose out. You know, why? You know, like you said, who we are, trying to figure out what that purpose is, what we're here for. Personally, my calling, I feel like, is to kind of educate young men and kind of steer them, hopefully, in a positive direction. I won't say right or wrong, because who's to determine what's right or wrong direction besides, you know, that inner self. But for the most part, you know, even using, you know, what you said earlier about animals. If you think of some of the most, you know, destructive meats out there, I think is like steaks, beef. I personally don't eat pork, you know, but I don't have certain beliefs on why. I just know that a long time ago, over 400 years ago, that it was given to ancestors that were slaves because pigs ate everything. And the reason why is because they were slobs. Pigs ate any and everything, worms, and it never digested. So that same reason is why I don't eat bacon, why I don't eat pork. And other people have their reasons, but you know, that was something that I was always told not to do it, but I was like, why? Bacon is good. It's delicious. You throw some pepper on there, put it on a burger, you put bacon on anything. I eat bacon, I eat pig's ass. You know what I mean? Right. But for the most part, you know, I ate other meats like beef and stuff because it made me feel so aggressive. You know, I've been in moments to where I was homeless. You know, I didn't want to be in my mom's house because I wanted to do my own thing. You know, my dad, like again, when I told my story earlier, you know, I just didn't have that resource. So I had to eat some of these animals, you know, for me. And it was, I might have been disgusting to some people, but I had to be that monster for myself to survive out there. You know, I was 24, 25 at the time when I first bought a house. I had to pay a mortgage. I had to buy books for school. I had to be a monster to survive. And sometimes that's what we have to do. And that's what you see these people doing in rioting. That's why I don't go against people that's rioting. I don't go against people that's fighting, because I know that anger inside. And it's hard for you to go and control and tell somebody what their experience is, because, again, that word you used earlier, feel. And everybody has different feelings on how they handle situations. And we can't do anything but stand together and support each other.
Ashe, well said, brother. The monster. I've heard that term used quite some time, actually, quite a number of times this week. talking about society, talking about the demons that we face, talking about our own internal struggles. The monster. The monster is real. Or is it?
Definitely.
Is it real?
No, absolutely.
It's that shadow, man.
Yeah, your shadow.
It's that shadow.
You took the. Yeah, I'll let you take.
No, go ahead, man.
No, but you have. I mean, energy isn't created or destroyed. So you have within you have the capability. I don't know. Like if you read up some of the things that I've read, is like if you think about three things, right? You have your own awareness, right? So think about if you're watching this right now, look at my shirt and say, don't say it out loud, but say NASA in your head. Cool. Said it 3 times. When you said that, what voice spoke? Not only did you hear yourself speak, you spoke and you heard that you spoke and you read it, right? But there was no exchange of vibration in the air to indicate that your hearing could hear it. There was no voice. So like that voice is awareness. So you have that. Then you have shared awareness, everything that we experience. And I think that from what I've read and what I'm experiencing, awareness itself is never ending, it's never decreasing, it's never increasing. And you have, within all of that, you have love, fear, anger, all of these things mixed up into one. So what we experience from, now again, this is kind of a metaphor, but what we experience is oftentimes very similar to the rainbow, right? Like all of these colors make white light. Same thing with what we experience. Everything we experience, love, hate, anger, fear, jealousy, like all of these experiences culminate into one. So our challenge while we're here is to evolve, to acknowledge that. And when we find other like minds, like spirits, like energies, like awareness that want to draw us in and have a conversation and play with us, then we engage that. And that's evolution.
All right. Well, I appreciate all of your sentiments. I'm going to actually do something spontaneous and different than I've done before, and simply close out by asking, how you doing? How you feel?
I'm feeling amazing. How you feeling?
I feel great. I think it was a lot that was said today that, you know, not saying that we all haven't been saying it, but a lot of people, even people that are watching, haven't maybe not necessarily had the courage, but just don't want to really speak up. And if we were able to say something for you today, you know, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for, you know, supporting us. The channel, thank you for supporting everything, because you know it takes a lot also for us to come here together and really speak not only into our personal lives but what's going on out there, because you know we can be recognized by, you know, the society as, oh, you know, those were the black guys speaking out against the police brutality or whatever. You know, it takes a lot. It really just does. And even when you don't think about it, you know, we're profiled each and every day, not only as black men but as Americans. We're people that, you know, are discriminated against each and every day, whether we realize it or not. And I think being able to come and use this platform and kind of speak on that is definitely powerful. I feel good about it, so thank you.
I feel bountiful, grateful, grounded, loved, excited, and I feel like I'm right exactly where I need to be, and all of us are, so thank you.
Ashe. Harvey, how do you feel?
I feel like we just wear our mold. And I just want to ask the world, who are you when you take that mold off? When we take this off, who are we? And that's just something I've been trying to study recently a lot. Who am I outside of what I wear? And I think a lot of my journey has been analyzing what I wear instead of analyzing what's really inside of me. So I think that, you know, and just hearing you guys, I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you guys sharing the space. I appreciate you guys speaking the knowledge you have and the truth you have. And it resonates so much because a lot of the energies you push my way have nothing to do with the mold we wear. It has all to do with what's inside of you. And that's what I'm here to learn now, because I'm learning that about myself. And I'm just so glad that we can share this not only with ourselves in this present space, but we got digital, we got technology, so people get tuned in. So I just thank you guys for the time to share that with us.
I hope we touched somebody, man. I know we went a little spiritual, a little kumbaya, you know what I mean? Interdimensional.
In every direction.
But for real, like, this was created to really make a difference, to really touch people, spark movements. So.
Nothing ever happens on accident.
Yeah.
There are no coincidences.
Exactly.
So we're all here together right now for a reason.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, listen, I was gonna close the show, but I don't think I have anything else to add. So I appreciate everyone for coming through. These gentlemen definitely set the stage. I blew it up. We continue to embark on this journey of self-discovery every month. This is just the tip of the iceberg for the people who come across this stage. They are clearly, as you can see, on their own paths, and this is just one of the stops along the way that to help us gain from each other, to uplift one another in community healing. So please, please, please continue to chime in, support these brothers. We will send out all of their Instagrams, so please follow them. And then if you can, support by donating, and we will see you next month. Thank you. DJ.
DJ.
Kick that shit.
You can keep the camera in the room while we wrap up.